Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. This is Gary Wilson, your host. I'm glad to have you back. Hey, if you haven't done so, if you could, please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. It's on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, you name it. It's 30 different channels, so grab the one you like. Also, while you're out there online, go ahead and visit the globalinvestoragent.com website. This is where you're going to find the agents who are not your typical agent. They are trained to work with you and I as investors. They have access to every kind of information you can imagine for every single parcel and every owner in the United States. No stone left unturned. They know how to identify, analyze, negotiate these deals, on and off market deals, by the way, which is really important, as well as having other connections to lenders and attorneys and people like that. It's just an amazing network that we've developed. And they only have one place to get certified, and that's right here. So we know who they are, we know they're good, and we use them too. We think you should. So, by the way, let's get back to the show. We got a great guest today, Brad Strickland. Excuse me, Brad. Thank you very much for joining us, man. I was reading your bio. I knew we had a great conversation. And I think this is going to be a really, really good one. I know how lucky we are. So thank you.
I'm happy to be here. I like what we've covered so far. A lot of common ground between you and me. And, there's a lot of people listening in. Where would you guide our conversation first, Gary?
Well, I tell you what, I'd like to go back to your bio. I mean, I'm reading about what you did as a kid. I mean,
yeah,
I thought I had an adventure of life, and man, you're like the poster child. So take us there first, because I want everybody really pay attention to Brad's background. Go for it, man.
I will. You got to realize it's very rehearsed. I've given it many times. I've been on television quite a bit. And so this is just normal for me. So hang on. I was born in Oklahoma City. Moved to Texas when I was 10 or 11. My three uncles were missionary kids in Haiti. They came to the States. All three of them became builders. My father, who started off life as a runaway, was later tested as an IBM mathematical genius and had a great career there. But as a mathematician, he loved leverage. So he gravitated to 10% down, 90% from the bank. We had rental property since I was 5. I've been collecting rent. Mm-hmm. The family, because of our tightness, we built a house at the age of 12. At the age of 13, I start high school. At the age of 14, one of my uncles, all three of these uncles are builders now, says, "Brad, would you draw these blueprints in your drafting class up there at LaPorte High School?" I was like, "Sure." So it took 2 months. I did it with a pencil and a T-square, everything it took. After 2 months, I did the ammonia paper blueprint machine. And I said, "Hey, I got your blueprints." And he leans over to get his wallet. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get paid." No, I didn't get paid. He handed me $35. He says, "Get on your bike, go down and get my building permit." And I was like, "Yeah, fine, whatever. I'm not getting paid." As I'm riding my bicycle back from City Hall, I knew all the answers: 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, blah, blah, blah. I knew all that. It was just a one-pager back then. I didn't realize that moment was setting my whole life up. At that moment, at the age of 14, there was no other architect on the planet with that story, right? And little did I know, as I built a house with each one of those uncles throughout my teens, that they formed what I ended up being my real estate design philosophy. And, that's where I'm camped out now. That's why you and I are talking. Along the way, I got rid of the pencils and I picked up the computer and become, very proficient in sharing a vision through the skills of the computers. And that's where, you'll see a lot of my work right now. So
nice.
Did I leave anything else out? Do you want me to highlight something there?
Well, there's so much, like the fact that you traveled to Haiti. I think you were 10 years old, and
I was.
Yep. And
so Haiti and Papua New Guinea are both very important. This actually, the necklace for the YouTubers, that's been on my neck since I was 17. I mean, not literally, I take it off and stuff, but I bought that in WeWhack, negotiated for $3 Toya, not, it's about $3. My family was missionaries in Haiti, so there was that element. And then my father, of course, he came up the hard way, and he passed away 7 years ago. And so with his brain, he is his mechanical genius. I would sit there in awe. He would create a Stirling engine in the garage. It would sit there and just run off the heat of the air, which I'm like, why don't we use those? Wow. But his favorite thing was leverage. Obviously, Freon was a leverage thing. He loved it to where, put 10% down, the bank gives you 90, went straight into real estate. And so he taught me a lot with where the BoMoSo real estate philosophy came from was, you know, if you're doing a remodel, a flip, you're taking a shopping mall and you're going to up it, you're going to take an old mobile home park or whatever. If you can spend $1 and get $10 in value, it's a yes. But if you spend $1 and you get $1, don't do it. That's a gold faucet. You spend a lot of money, it looks pretty, but you're not getting any value in lifestyle or quality. And so that became one of the anchors that came from my father. The three uncles from Haiti, all super different, So the first uncle, the one I started off with the blueprints, I built a house with him, built a couple with him. He's really the anchor, Uncle Dan. He's the anchor of where most of my skills in the field came from. He believed you could build a house for $12 and a sandwich. Take the material off the truck. Do not cut angles on it for rafters. Don't do any of that. There should be no trash in a trash pile. For the listeners, a typical house, 2,000-3,000 square foot, you're going to have $7,000 to $12,000 in waste. He didn't want any of it. So I got hyper trained for hyper economics. Second uncle, Uncle Milton, he believed you should put on a show. Life should be a pleasure. When you come home, it should be your castle. And thus, he built down in Padre Island on the channels where the yachts were in the backyard, rotundas, curved stairways, beautiful, beautiful houses. But similar to my first uncle, who built them so cheap, nobody really wanted to buy his houses. He built such beautiful houses, they were so expensive, so he didn't sell a lot of houses either. And then the third uncle, he turned out to be the building inspector for War Acres in Oklahoma City, and he believed you should build it to last 1,000 years after you. So he taught me to over-engineer everything. 2x6s became 2x8s. 24 on center became 16 or 12. And so all of these guys are just in my head as I was designing, and I got pulled into really residential, but then, I mean, I've been involved in commercial just as long. I mean, you're aware that I $1 billion buyer and designed a restaurant for Tillman. And along those lines, I've done quite a bit of residential, but never as the owner. I've always just admired coming in and adding a lot of value with my weird view of the weird view that I got from those uncles and everything. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think I read your, at the ripe old age of 20, you actually paid cash for your first.
I did. Okay. I did. I was a bus boy at the Houston Yacht Club for 4 years. Back then it was $3.25 minimum wage. Yeah, that's a lot of money now. $3.25 and no tips. It was a private club, so you didn't get tips. So that represented my high school years. All right. So that was 4 years. And about a year or two out of school, I was looking at one of them new Trans Ams with the fire on the bird on the hood, or one of those Pontiac Fieros. I was going to go drop my $7,000 savings on something fun. And my dad, in his genius wisdom, he was like, hey, I'm going to go look at a house down here in Morgan's Point. It's a Bay community in Houston. I said, I'll go with you. So we go and we look at the house for YouTube. It was sitting like this, not like this. It was sitting like this. What I'm doing is it's leaning by 2 feet one side. The other bad thing about the house was a flat roof. And in Houston, with our 30 inches of rain each year, that's bad. So I see this and I see what my dad's seeing. We've done this before. So the bank had taken it back on repo for 19 grand, right? We walked through it and we're at the back of the house and my dad's like, so what do you think? I was like, it's a pretty good house. I mean, yeah, Dad, it's the bread and butter. It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's bread and butter. And I kind of know his words. Right. He goes, the bank wants 19 grand. What do you think I ought to offer? I said, 19 grand. There's a lot here to do. I would go 10,000 cash. He goes, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. And he goes, why don't you buy it? I was like, me? Man, Dad, I only got 7 grand. I'm thinking Dad, I don't have 10 grand, but I would definitely get it. But he goes, I'll tell you what, son, I'll give you this extra $3,000 if you'll buy it. No loan, don't pay me back. I'll give it to you if you'll put your 7,000 in. I'll give you the 3, which represented what, a year and a half of hard work as a busboy. Yeah. I was like, sure, I'm in. He goes, okay, do you want to go tell the bank or do you want me to go and negotiate? I said, no, I'll do it. He pulled out a rubber band bank, literally 10 grand in cash with a rubber band. He goes, here you go. I was like, thanks, Dad. Walked up to the front where this lady was the bank representative. I said, ma'am, if you'll take this, and this is what my dad taught me, if you'll take this, stop talking. That's it. You're done. Wait till that hand comes out. Take your hand off of it as fast as you can. If you'll take this, I'll take this, and signal to the house. And then she goes, sold. I said, by the way, there's 10,000 there. She goes, I don't care. Yeah. Yeah. that cash is powerful. So my uncles were the same way. You go into it like that. So that's the story of me buying a house at 20. And, I lived there for 4 years. I fixed it up for 6,000. I'm into it totally now for 16 grand. No rent, no mortgage for 16 grand. Drafter of houses, production drafter. I think it was called Emerald Homes back in the day. And then I sold it for 56,000 and immediately built 2 more houses. So that's my origin story. So. Yep.
I know I learned in the last recession. I mean, I learned it before this, but as I was investing, I built up a nice little, pile of reserves, basically cash I wasn't using. It was a couple $100,000. And the bankers are starting to call me, hey, we got some good ideas for this money. You can earn, we'll give you 4%, which is more than everybody else. I'm like, I'm like, on some of my properties, I'm making 100%. I'm like, I'm not going to do anything for 4%.
Yeah.
So I thought I got to go out on a shopping spree. And I learned that if I come in with cash, and I've done this before, I would offer them half, like you were just about half, offer them half in cash and just not flinch and not blink an eye. And you'd be amazed at how many times they would say, you got it,
Yeah.
No, and this is one of the things I learned is instead of saying I'll give you 1,000 down and
yes,
9,000 to closing, I'd literally say, look, I'm literally putting the entire 10 right here, right now.
Yeah.
And then you've got a flat out guarantee. And that really worked. Now you're not going to find much these days for 10 grand, but today maybe 40 grand was the 10 grand from 20 years ago. It depends on what market you're in.
You just jarred a story. I just remembered, buddy of mine, his name's David Parker. He runs DP Consultant. He's the king of hotels. Like he's a consultant for the hotel industry. Very, very good friends. He calls me up. I'm still in my 20s. He goes, hey, Brad, I'm working on my hours to fly. He's a pilot. He goes, can I pick you up and fly you somewhere? I was like, sure. So he picks me up at the little airfield. And I said, hey, can you hug the ground as low as legally you can and go from Houston to New Orleans? I want to see every inch of waterfront property. I'm 26 years old at the time or something. I ended up buying a house this way. I spotted a mobile home on the water. It was in a gated community. You couldn't get in. And so I finagled my way to get in, found it was for sale by owner. She wanted, I don't remember what she wanted, but I offered her $19,500 if she'd carry the note for a 2-year balloon. So I gave her $2,500 down or something. I waited for month number 1, month number 2, month number 3. Hey, how you doing? I just recently came into some cash. It's only 14 grand, but if we can call it good, I'll bring it to you, or I'm going to go get a new Camaro. Oh, no, I'd rather that. And so I was in the unique spot. And this is why I love owner finance properties. They don't want to be a bank. They want a big pile of cash, and they're willing to do that. And there's nobody else on the planet that could really negotiate that except, people who buy loans on the secondary market, but she wasn't going to find somebody. That was some of my yummiest money. I totally forgot that story. You brought that back, Gary. I forgot that story. Yeah.
There's another great one I learned is when things get really competitive, but it's like when this market's going to turn, everybody knows it. We just don't know exactly, I think it's already started to turn, quite frankly, but we don't know how big or deep or wide or long. And so when it got really active, like it did before, and multiple offers, I learned that if the thing was being offered for, 19.5, a lot of people will go to 20. And then a few people will go to 20,000 or 21,000. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to $21,113.57 because I bet there's other people going to go to 21,000. And sure enough, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I found out, people would come up to me later because we were working on the houses, remodeling, and say, you're the guy that got the house. I said, yeah. He said, man, you beat me out by like $113.57. What's up with that? And I said, it's just just something I came up with. I thought, well, if everybody's going to the next round number, I'm going to add some oddball figure at the end,
Sure.
So,
well, in my situation, it was the opposite. No one had driven by because it was owner for sale by owner, and it was a gated community. It had been on the market. It was just privately listed for so long. And back then, it was the opposite. You didn't get multiple offers.
Yeah.
It was back when you'd put something on the market and 6 months would be a good, finally, I got an offer after 6 months. It was just different back then. But that's when, and talk about the market changing. That's when you find out who's been swimming naked and who's really good at what they do and stuff like that. And I welcome it. I know it's coming and I can't stop it, but I'm ready for it to happen. Please bring back some sort of lumber prices and, some professional guys that will do the job when they say they're going to do it on the time they're going to do it. I've had challenges in labor, and I've got rock stars on my labor pool. So yeah.
That's one of the most challenging parts of our business is I'm not knocking them, that we need those guys, and they're awesome, and they're awesome. But that was always like one of the most common big challenges. But so let's talk about all the years you spent helping other people, and I'm guessing that means in terms of architecture.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you learned? Like let's say we got a group of investors looking they're buying a piece of land, they wanted to develop it.
Sure.
And we know there's a big need for affordable housing, for example, so maybe developers will start building affordable housing during this next recession. Anything you can share along those lines? Because I want people to understand the design of a place, the flow, the traffic patterns, all those things are really important. The livability, it has to do with lifestyle and livability,
Yeah, and you brought me right up to what I do all day long right now. So we've jumped all the way to what actually is on my computer screen and what I've got to do. I think probably the easiest way to do it is to sum it up like Uban King. I don't know if you've ever seen him on YouTube or anything. He's passed away because of COVID, but he said a line. He says this: "You cannot make a good decision in the dumpster." And so the opposite's also true. You don't want to propose when you're sitting next to cracked eggs and a dirty diaper. You also don't want to make a new job, decision or move to Atlanta if you're in the dumpster. And so the opposite's also true. The better your environment, the better your decisions, the better your results, and the better your life is. And that comes all the way down to a like a car wash or a Home Depot lease. One of my guys got those kind of things. So what happens is, the way I got here, about the three uncles and how that happened, but somewhere along the line, from 13 years old, from the first blueprint to about 27, 28, most of the architect guys are coming out of architectural school, right? I've already hit my 10,000 hours of the, your expert, real world, practical. And so for Brad, I'd already experienced so much with actual hammer in my hand and pulling permits that I had to leave the normal realm of design to expand my own personal skill set. And that comes only from passion. There was no professor that told me to do it or anything. And so I learned a giant amount from Walt Disney, huge amount from Karl Lagerfeld, and a blistering amount from Enzo Ferrari. And so if you don't know those guys, go and do your research. Those guys really impacted my architecture.
Okay.
Try to make that connection from a fashion designer, a cartoon guy, and a race car guy to fashion design. And here, I'll sum it up like this. I was watching a TED Talk with the most boring topic. It was an insurance thing. And the guy said, we were down South America, and we were interviewing the people in the village, and we asked them, and I'm going to ask you, Gary, out of the senses that we have, what is the most valuable sense out of the senses? And Americans usually say sight. We got sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch. So which one would you have to give up? You don't want to give it up. I don't want to give up. I would say hearing. I don't want to give up hearing. Okay. And so we have, as society set us up through the society and schooling and all that, we think there's 5 senses. And so the opening of listening to this TED Talk, he goes, when we did it, we were expecting hearing and vision, but almost everyone in the entire village said the sense of balance. If a girl or a boy falls off a log going to school, they die. It was a gorge they had to walk across. And before they would let them do it, they would test them. I'm sitting here, my mind was blown by this phrase, a sense of balance. I'm like, that's not a real sense. That's gobbledygooks, insurance salesman trying to raise some money or whatever. No, go to Wikipedia right now. The human body has 21 senses. I started applying all 21 senses to all real estate, whether it's, storage facility or it's a RV park or a shopping center. I literally would go down all 21 senses. A sense of urgency. Hey, doctor, come on, we're having a baby here. A sense of direction. Where did I park my car? Right? A sense of propriety. Dude, we're in the church. Dude, we're with the queen. So we all have that idiot friend, right? So I can walk you through all 21 senses. The biggest ones are a sense of adventure. Have you ever felt bored? Like, oh my gosh, you got a picture of Hawaii or something behind you. That's not an accident. It's one of your senses. It satisfies you. It's thumping a dopamine, a serotonin, adrenaline, endorphins, from the sexual endorphins. So when I realized I was actually a drug dealer, one of my favorite YouTube videos I have is I am a drug dealer. I just barely touch on it. So you combine that with my 3 uncles and my dad, and you find out that, oh, my next 10,000 hours has brought me to the point where I'm having a chat with a guy who's actually on $1 Billion Buyer, and he's a big real estate guy. I don't really want to drop his name because he's big in the city of Houston. I get invited to some really cool things because of what I accomplished. And I'm sitting there, we're talking. He's got the restaurant. He's got 1,000-acre developments. He's big. And he goes, you know what, Brad? This is a few years back. He goes, I want to do one of those assisted living facilities like I saw in Germany. I was like, okay, dude, I'm on it. And that's all he dropped on me. So I'm also a big believer in free. So I went off and did an entire thing about this. And he's like, this assisted living is like a village. There's fake money. So the old senior, the people feel like they're buying their haircut or they're buying their macaroni and cheese or whatever. Their security guards look like cops and there's like lampposts. I was like, I see what you want to do. You want to, and he's in this stage of life where this is a toy. Yep. Literally, it's not like, oh, I got to make money on this real estate deal, right? So I go and dive into it, and he calls me up. He goes, hey, what would you do with it? I said, I just made a video. I sent it to you, and you can find it on my website, this video I'm talking about. It's 8 minutes. It's not real polished. It's kind of raw. But, boy, I just start firing off exactly what I do.
Okay.
Here's where partnerships came into my life, Gary. You ready for this?
Okay. Yep.
I'm sitting back, and he calls me up. He goes, hey, I shot it around to my 3 partners. I said, oh, cool. Yeah, that video. So if we hired Gensler and Associates, big architectural firm, you may know their name, that'd be $250,000. We're prepared to pay you that. I was like, cool. That was like new numbers for me, like 10X, whatever I'd done. I just went Grant Cardone on it, right? 10X. He goes, however, we would wondering, could we partner you in for 5%? I was like, dude, I want to run around the city saying we're partners instead of getting the money. Now that was ballsy on my end because $250,000 would have been great. I'd have had a lot of work. I'd have had to hire some guys to help me. He goes, likewise. And that was the start of my first partnership.
Okay.
I didn't come to them. It turned out to be a $4 million, 300 rooms. You'll see it. About a $7 million renovation. It had gotten hit with the Hurricane Harvey. So the first 4 feet of sheetrock had been taken off.
Okay.
So you're at 4 purchase, 7 remodel at an 80% occupancy with a cap of 6, 7, 8, whatever. It would be around 22 mil, 23 mil. However, they believed that what I was bringing to the table would cap us out. Because here's my philosophy when it comes to all rental property. You should be 20% more than anybody else in the market, and you should have a waiting list of 20%. So if you got 100 apartments, you have 20 people can't wait for your property to be empty. There's the power of the design of you can't make a good decision in the dumpster. In fact, Uban King will leave a hotel. He's in the city to make money. If the hotel has a bad vibe, he would leave. Like that's how powerful our environments are, you know? So anyway, you kind of got a lot of stuff there. What's next?
Yep. We'll be right back with the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast after I invite you to Monday Night Live. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I teach a class without fail for you on subjects ranging from flipping to buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling, commercial, creative purchasing techniques, analyzing properties, identifying properties, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subjects. And if you are a licensee, if you have a real estate license, you should definitely tap in because there are a lot of investor agents also in the class. Many of them are on the global investor agent team. So you can learn from them as well as from me how to actually work with investors correctly and profitably. All right, we'll see you Monday night. The link is in the show notes. Go ahead and register. We'll get right to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Well, what's interesting, you actually have a varied array of experiences too, not just dealing strictly with real estate, but you've also been involved with other design work in different industries. So if you just for fun, let's talk about some of that. Sure, entertainment industry, magazine, video games, things like that. Just to show people. Oh, great! Life can be very rich if you let it.
Yeah, I'm flattered you're asking. So, somewhere along the lines, I was broke. I was, 29 years old. I had done bankrupt. My wife comes to me and says, Brad, we're broke. I'm not supposed to hit the table. I'm sorry. That's just one of my things. That's all right. Martin, if he's watching this, my co-star, we shot for 14 shows and a pilot and all this stuff. He hates it when I hit the table. He says, don't do that, Brad. Anyway, So my wife says we're broke. Go build something. So I've been building playhouses and putting them down on the corner and selling them, make $1,000 or whatever I could.
Okay.
And so I had this new idea in my head for a curved little roof, little cottage thing. And so I built it. And as I was working on it at night, up at the office where I was a drafter, I was drawing houses. The girls would come around and look at the photographs from the night before. And when it was finally done, it was pretty. This one girl leans back and she goes, "Oh, I just love it. I would love to have that at my girl's birthday party." I was like, "I'll rent it to you because I'm a landlord." And she goes, "Oh, really? How much?" And I was like, "How much are those bouncy houses? Those inflatable? Those like $150. I'm $300. I'm twice as good as a bouncy house." And she goes, "Oh my gosh." And she went ballistic. And I'm sitting here as an entrepreneur seeing a spark like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this as renting a house or a trailer or whatever.
Right.
So she starts getting real bubbly and she goes, "Okay, we're going to have all the Girl Scouts come over. We're going to do a slumber party." I said, whoa, time out. You're going to do this is not air conditioning. I will add the air conditioning. By the way, can I leave it on the trailer? Because I'm lazy. I don't want to take it off and then put it back on. And she goes, "Yeah, we don't care." And that's what got me into the castle company. So you can see there's a castle I invented. That castle, I've done 300 parties over the last 4 years. The very, very first day I put it out there, we started getting hit up for franchises. We had 70 franchise requests in the first 90 days. Only 2 of them were men. I've since then built another castle and parked it because this real estate thing has just skyrocketed. So I wasn't much of a businessman, but I did 300 parties at a premium level. When you have a castle on wheels with a bubble machine and a TV and air conditioning and girls are just screaming and you're trending in certain areas, that's when television called me, really. That's when they called me and said, "Hey, will you be on Tori Spelling's Craft Wars?" And yeah, sure. Why not? I'm crafty. I like my art. And so I'm an artist. And so I went on her show. She gets in my face. We're friends, but that didn't go my way. I didn't win. See, I didn't win that one, but I learned a lot from my other competitors on that show. I was Martin. Again, we've shot so much stuff for so many things. He called me up one day. We were both working at a production builder, and we just hit it off as friends. He's Hispanic. He's saucy and I'm white. It's just a good combination. So he goes, "Brad, I want you to be on the show with me." I said, "What show do you want me to be on?" He goes, "The Little Couple." So Dr. Jen and Bill, they're small people and they've got a huge following. So I went and decorated a Christmas tree, like $15,000 Christmas tree. Martin wanted me in all the shots, driving the truck. I'm just along for the ride. He's my friend. And then that kind of opened up that. And like I said, we've shot a pilot. Most recently was a win. I won the season finale. I designed a restaurant with Martin. I mean, we did it together. And as an opportunity, we got to design the theme. It's called the Galaxy Pinball and Pizza down the Kima Boardwalk. Funnest thing. It's all space themed. It's a restaurant. It's cool. So there's that side of my life. I think that covers that. But
what's interesting is you took something. This is something I teach, is to take what you have, your raw talent, your skill, whatever it is God gave you, and think of how many ways you can utilize that to serve others, because that's really the key to one of the keys to success. Is like Zig Ziglar says, if you just open up other people get what they want, you'll bring up plenty of what you want. So you've been able to do that with your architectural design capabilities and leverage it into the entertainment sector. And it's actually still housing. It's this the castles are actually, it's like a mini house.
You really registered right there when you said Zig Ziglar. Did you know Peter J. Daniels from Australia?
I know the name, but I've never met him. But I know.
Fantastic guy. 17 books. I've read them all. I'm very comfortable calling him. He's worth $4.1 billion at the time. He's 83. He's not coming back. But I got to share the story that he shared with me. He goes, the young boy goes into town. He says, "Hey, you're the oldest, wisest guy in town. What's the meaning to life? How do you have such a successful life?" And the old guy's like, "Now, this isn't Peter Daniels or somebody else." He goes, "Hey, I don't know the answer to the questions you're asking, but I've thought a lot about life. I can share what I've come up with." He goes, "Oh, please, sir, that's more than I have. Please." He goes, "Well, the first thing, little boy, you got to think. Think about the values you wish to live your life by. That's what you got to do. Think. Now, the second thing you do is you believe in yourself. You believe that you can do things based on the belief in yourself about that thinking you've done about the values you wish to live your life by.
Yeah.
Third, little boy, you got to dream. Have dreams that you can accomplish based on the belief in yourself, based on the values that you're going to live your life by. And finally, little boy, you got to dare to get the dreams that you believe in yourself based on the thinking you've done about the values you wish your life by. And with that, Walter Eisner Disney says, think, believe, dream, and dare. That has been with me from Peter J. Daniels forever. And if you break it down, how do you practicality this? So it's a pretty story. Thank you, Walt. Yeah. Now what do I do, right? So you go back to Ubon King and you combine these two and you're really talking to the real Brad Strickland. So Ubon King, you can't make a good decision in the dumpster. Well, what's the first thing to do is get your butt out of the dumpster. Well, the dumpster could also be your 5 closest associates because your wallet is the same as the 5 guys you spend the most time with. The books you're reading, what are you subscribing to? Do you need that Netflix? Like the dumpster isn't always what you think it is.
Right.
I'm not living in a dumpster. So the first thing that helped me succeed 7 years ago when everything just kind of launched was I had to admit I was wrong, Gary.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. We're not trained to admit it. So I actually had to think, how do I admit I'm wrong? I'm in a dumpster, but I think I'm right. We all want to say, no, well, here's the proof. I would already had the yacht. I'd already traveled. I have that great relationship with my wife. I'd be given to the charities of my choices. I'd be driving the car I want. So the proof was pretty clear. I'm wrong. I need a freaking mentor because the books are good. The seminars on YouTube are good, but I need somebody I need to talk to about this deal. Right.
Yeah.
And so that became really a catalyst for where I'm at now. I realized I was wrong. How do I change that habit? I put up on my mirror one of those pictures, the artist guy that says, if you look at it this way, it's an old woman, but if you look at it this way, it's a young woman, right?
Yeah.
Or the one where it's like a lot of trees or it's a bunch of lips. It's a lady's lip. Pick any of those. If you want to change the car you're driving and the woman you're with and the house, you got to have to admit you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
And get out of the dumpster, even if it's a pretty dumpster. So I had it on my mirror and it said, what do I see? And the first thing I'd say, I see an old woman. And then below it says you were wrong. And I was like, I've got to humble myself somewhere along the lines because I've gone as far as my dad could take me. I've gone as far as my uncles can take me. I can't get any more out of this Zig Ziglar book. I mean, I chew the crap out of that. It's marked up pages. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, all the guys out there with those books. I need practical steps. And number 1 was admitting I was wrong. And then number 2, I stole it from Warren Buffett and from Bill Gates. They real simply having dinner and one of Bill's mom goes, hey, what would you say give you the most success? And they both simultaneously said focus. Right. So if I'm trying to if I want to be a flipper, and I deal with a lot of real estate guys, and I see this in the younger pups, the ones that don't have any focus they don't even look like they're moving from year over year. Right.
Yep.
This guy, this 28-year-old I was telling you about earlier, he's got 12 houses. He's doing good. But I told him, you're either going to be a flip or a landlord. You can't go to Paris and Tokyo at the same time. You ever seen a dog catch 2 rabbits at the same time? No. Rhinoceros Success, another good book. Charge with all your might towards your first goal and then turn and pivot to the next goal. So be a landlord up to 50 units. Then go over here and be a land developer or whatever. But to take one step in this direction and take one step in this direction, you're not going to get very far. And so focus was super key for me. And that's where I'm very quick I had a lady approach me yesterday. Hey, can we partner on an RV park? I said, no, I don't. I know what's working right now. My rental neighborhoods, I'm doing whole neighborhoods that we rent. Yep. I've never approached anybody ever to be my partner. They've all come to me and they're like, okay, we see.
Right.
Could you just tell us what would you do with this shopping center?
Right.
Sense of direction, sense of urgency, sense of time, sense of direction.
Yeah.
So I'm all over the place. Hopefully it's entertaining.
Yeah. This has been great. I know we're probably right at their magical 30-minute mark.
Okay.
So what I want to do is the website is www.bomoso, BOMOSO.com, right?
That's it.
And so people visit there. I mean, what are your final parting words? And we really appreciate you doing this. I mean, you've shared an awful lot and a great life experience. But parting words, I mean, the people are uncertain right now, which way the economy going, the Ukraine, all this stuff is just so much uncertainty, but maybe focus is the answer,
Focus is the answer. And then because I've been doing this for so long, I've been on the highs. A lot of people like the idea of being on TV or designing houses that get written up in newspapers and stuff, I started to realize that there's people listening to me that aren't like you and me, Gary, but they want to hang out with guys like us and they'll listen to this podcast. And so in parting words, I'll bring some Martin Luther King to you.
Okay.
And it's this. Martin Luther King said it this way. He goes, if you find yourself to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets in such a manner that the kings of this earth and the angels in heaven stop and pause and say, here lives a great homemaker, teacher, accountant, whatever it is you find to do it with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, and you will be successful. It doesn't have to be zeros and zeros and zeros in your bank account. Yeah. I have discouraged so many people because I am hyper ambitious. I have just gotten started. We're marching towards the New York Stock Exchange. That's the ambition for BoMoSo. BoMoSo is Brad Milton Strickland, by the way. Those are my initials. Okay. Yeah, that's what that is. Cool. So that's what I say, man. If you think about Martin Luther King, whatever it is, was it? It was probably Gary, not Zig Ziglar, but if you're doing what you are wanting to do, you are successful.
Yeah.
Money and real estate happen. You can almost get in the way. Like Aristotle Onassis says, the crumbs that fall off the billionaire tables will make you a millionaire. Yeah. So hanging out like this, having some ideas of what to do, that's great. And if you're like me and Gary, stick around for the next episode because I know the kind of guys he's getting on his show. So I appreciate it. This has been fun.
Well, I appreciate you too, Brad. And if everybody else listening, we appreciate you listening and participating. We appreciate your reviews. If you could do Brad a favor and me and the podcast is please leave a review because this has been a lot of fun and a lot of good. If you dig deep and listen to it again, there's a lot of golden nuggets in here, guys. So we love the reviews. It's the currency of podcasts. It's what makes the podcast go around. We all support each other. We interview each other on each other's podcast, and it's a great community and it's free to you. So all we ask is give a review. So and while you're out there, go to www.BoMoSo, right? Brad Milton.
That's right.
.com. And once you've done that, go over to the globalinvestoragent.com website. If you're an agent, by the way, man, you go all there and click on the link to get more info because you need to add this to your real estate brokerage model. And I would not wait. I mean, the last time half the agents left the business, don't be that half. Be the other half that stuck around and not only survived but thrived because they work with investors. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. In the meantime, God bless you and your families.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.